The Brain by Jesse Moreno, Kate McChristie, and Elise McMahon. The brain has two hemispheres, the left and the right hemisphere. The left hemisphere of the brain is responsible for controlling the right side of the body. It manages analytic thoughts, logic, language, science, and math. The right hemisphere of the brain is responsible for controlling the left side of the body. It is the control center for holistic thought, intuition, creativity, art, and music.
The cerebral cortex is the outer layer of the brain and it's responsible for higher-level thinking functions. Its main role is to support, nourish, and protect neurons. The brain has four lobes: the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the parietal lobe, and lastly the occipital lobe.
The frontal lobe is responsible for higher-level thinking and expressive language. The frontal lobe contains the motor cortex, which controls the movement of our muscles, and the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for judgment, reasoning, and future planning. Broca's area is also located in the lower portion of the frontal lobe. It controls the muscle movement of your mouth and speech production. If one obtains damage to Broca's area, they lose their ability to form words.
The next lobe is the temporal lobe, which processes auditory information and interprets sound and language. Wernicke's area is located within the temporal lobe. It is important for language development and controls complex sentences. If one obtains damage to this area, they will lose the ability to form complete sentences, resulting in them only saying random words.
Then there's the parietal lobe, which processes tactile sensory information including touch and pain. The somatosensory cortex is located within the parietal lobe, and it receives all sensory input from the body. The final lobe in the brain is the occipital lobe, responsible for interpreting visual stimuli. It is related with color recognition, object and face recognition, and distance and depth perception. These are the four lobes of the brain and their functions.
The lower-level structures in the brain include the hindbrain structures, midbrain structures, forebrain structures, and the limbic system. The corpus callosum connects the left and right cerebral hemisphere. It is a part of your brain that allows the communication between the two hemispheres of the brain. The hippocampus is part of the limbic system and is responsible for memory formation. It converts short-term memory into long-term memory. The thalamus is a forebrain structure that is considered the sensory switchboard. It routes sensory information to higher parts of the brain. The reticular formation is a midbrain structure that is made up of a bundle of nerves, and it carries information through the brainstem.
The cerebellum, medulla, and pons are all hindbrain structures. The cerebellum helps with balance, movement, and coordination. It is involved in almost every action you make, and it has a key role in the playing of sports. The medulla is a midbrain structure located on the brainstem in front of the cerebellum, and it controls breathing, heart rate, digestion, and vitals. And the pons is located directly above the medulla and is responsible for sleep, dreaming, and alertness. The pituitary gland is located near the hypothalamus and is an endocrine gland that releases hormones. The amygdala is part of the limbic system and identifies emotions, specifically aggression and fear.
The hypothalamus is also part of the limbic system. It is responsible for controlling the pituitary glands, and it regulates our basic biological needs. These are the lower-level structures of the brain and their functions.